We're doing a special report that looks at sexual and gender diverse young people, specifically LGBTQ2S young people, who are involved with the child intervention system or involved with youth justice.
I knew that I was gay, very young. I remember being as young as 6 and being attracted to girls. It was a struggle because no one understood what was going on in my own head, and I didn't know how to say it, so I just showed it through deviant behavior. I was placed in P-CHIP because I was heavily addicted to crack and meth for 2 years of my life and living on the street.
After my dad passed away, my auntie took me in, and the way she treated me was very different than the rest of her kids. I was always meant to be female. She didn't want me to be female, so she cut my hair, she made me wear boy clothes, and I hated it. Sometimes I just didn't want to wake up and just go to school dressing like a boy. It's not our fault that we were born in the wrong body.
Between the ages of about 0 and about 7, we had been in and out of the system for about 6 or 7 times, actually. And my mom actually passed away while we were in care. And it took about a few months, but we were eventually brought back into my birth family by my aunt, and lived with her until I was about 16. And then she passed away, unfortunately. And at the time I was in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you sort of really kind of just keep your head above water. You don't really have time to figure out, well, my sexuality, who am I, what do I like, blah, blah, blah. It's just, every day is a struggle, so.
This is a population that is often not served well by the child intervention system or the youth justice system, primarily because these are big systems and they struggle with accommodation of people with diverse needs. And the LGBTQ2S community has unique needs, and we need to find ways to better accommodate them.
People in the LGBT community are at significantly higher risk, and in some cases exponentially higher risk for depression. So mental health, depression and anxiety are huge. People are at significantly higher risk for suicide, especially if they don't have those supports in place, or people who are just accepting of who they are as a person. As well, they're at higher risk for domestic violence in relationships, experiencing sexual assault, so many things.
Well, and if you think about kids who are LGBTQ2S plus, who are just in school, and we know they get bullied more. So if they get bullied more, then they're probably acting out more. And if they're acting out more, then they're probably getting to the attention of their teachers more and not learning as much and not coming to class as much. And then they end up maybe with the wrong crowd. They are the most vulnerable and the most excluded. And then if you take that, plus then they're in care, plus then they're involved in the criminal justice system, they have all these barriers. And I think if they just felt a little bit like they could be themselves, they would be less likely to be acting out or to be in trouble.
The cycle usually starts especially with queer youth, they come out at home, they come out in care a lot of times too, and it's met with a lot of resistance and homophobia and transphobia. So they get kicked out, they don't feel comfortable, and they end up on the street, or they end up in care. And again, even in care a lot of times those youth fall through the cracks because they have to hide who they are, who their gender really is.
When they don't find the acceptance that they need, when there isn't accommodation for them to be who they are, when there isn't the space for them to express themselves, they feel like they have to somehow hide who they are. And one of the most important things for young people to do during adolescence is to develop a healthy identity, a sense of self, a sense of what they believe in, of who they are, of what's important to them, what brings meaning to their lives. And if young people aren't able to be supported to express that, to be who they are, it's just not right.
When my family was still involved in my life, it was just my dad and my 2 sisters, and we got to talking about being gay, and I said, out of the blue, I said, hey, what if one of us were gay? And he said, I would disown you in a second. So from there on, I kept my mouth shut.
I remember answering the phone to my caseworker and trying to lower my voice. I didn't want them to picture me as, oh, well, he was the gay kid. I just didn't want to be that. That was one of the biggest kind of issues, the barriers that I had, was trying so hard to hide everything about my life.
I think that's the hardest thing for me to do is just to be completely honest. But if I be completely honest, like, it's hard to find people that are open with who you are and that accept you for who you are.
When a young person can't be who they are, certainly their safety can be jeopardized, as can their sense of well-being and their sense of acceptance by those around them. That's a huge issue for these young people in both these systems. And we want to be able to put forward recommendations and suggestions that can push the governments that are responsible to change that.
I think there's a lot of systemic barriers, and I just think for kids who are already so bullied and traumatized, to continue that traumatization in a system that's supposed to be, rehabilitating and helping them and, trying to make them be better people. it's unacceptable.
I think we as allies and as professionals working with these youth, we have a huge opportunity and responsibility to create space for these people, to let these youth know that we are someone safe to talk to and that we feel comfortable talking about these things.
And what I would like to see is more access to professional services, psychology, psychiatry, endocrinology. I think that would save a lot of stressors for this community. I would like to see a shift in the way that we support these youth so that we can make sure that these youth are supported from a foundational perspective right away. So making sure that their mental health is good, their social health is good, their psychological health is good, their sexual health is good. So the comprehensive health really needs to be worked on. We need to make sure that we're supporting them holistically so that there's no gaps in their development.
I think kids, what they're really looking for and what they really need is that unchanging love, no matter who they are or what they do. I think as humans, we all need that, but especially children, and especially children who identify as different than, the bigger group. They just want to feel included and loved no matter what. And I think as a system, we have failed them in letting them realize who they can be because we don't give them what they need on the most primary level.
So in school, I was taught that there's this thing called a hierarchy of needs. And right at the base of the triangle is your basic needs. Where am I going to eat? Where am I going to sleep? Having oxygen, healthcare, things like that. And as you go up, it starts becoming geared towards yourself as a person. So then it comes up to like relationships, love, trust, support, all that kind of stuff. And in order to get to the very top, where we talk about things like my identity, who I am, my sexuality, and stuff like that, you have to have all of those needs met. You can't get to that level unless you have the basics, the fundamentals there, in order to really go after the self-actualizing kind of aspect of it. Being 17, 18, not having anywhere to go and wanting so badly to finish school, wanting to eat every single day, having a different pair of socks to wear every single day was a big deal to me. And all of these kind of went before. And if you were dealing with anything like mental illness, depression, anxiety, anything like that, it's just tenfold. All these things are such big parts of your life. They just take everything out of you that you sometimes don't get a chance to, stop the madness and kind of sit down and just, take a breath and talk about yourself. I remember always really wanting so badly to have somebody to talk to and to listen. It never really happened because everybody sort of just focused on those basic needs, those necessities. And that is part of the job, right? That's a huge part of the job, but it's not the only thing.
I think we have so much control just in small things, like you could be wearing a pin to show you're an ally. It could be how you choose to phrase questions. If it's open, or are you asking, hey, do you have a boyfriend, and assuming someone's sexual orientation, or are you asking, is there someone special in your life? Do you have a partner? And all of these little things that we can do, we can then create space so that people might feel comfortable then bringing up these issues. I've seen firsthand what, if we do make steps to create safer environments and creating space for these people, that they will flourish and grow and feel comfortable and safe, and we can start these conversations. And most of all, hopefully we'll feel supported in managing some of the challenges that they come across.
At the beginning, I had a hard time because I didn't really have a lot of people caring for me, so I had a hard time accepting that people actually do care, and it took me a while to accept that.
Be open to dealing with them, be educated, be wanting to be educated, just having that willingness to learn, to facilitate that kind of a kid. I just think that the fact that I identify as being gay should not be a reason why I don't get along with my caseworker. That shouldn't even be a question, you know? That should just be something that when I get involved with the caseworker, they are completely open and know, and when it comes time to it, they're gonna give me information and they're gonna give me support that I really desperately need. Even if they're not like super good at it, you know, just having that like be a thing that we can talk about or we can discuss, something that won't be pushed off the table or needs to be hidden. I think that's really important, and that's gonna be ultimately the difference between kids feeling comfortable, being able to come out, coming into who they are as people, becoming fully fledged adults who are able to transition out of care safely and effectively and go on to lead, you know, productive, healthy lives.
My social worker made an absolute tremendous difference in my life. I don't think I'd be here if it wasn't for her.
You know, people say you only need that one good friend, right? So I really think we shouldn't underestimate the value of having that one healthy connection or that one outlet that a youth can use to really explore and find themselves and really become like a grounded person. And I think that's what would change the outcome of all of these other risk factors in their lives. They would be perhaps better able to manage or mitigate some of these things, feeling more solidly in themselves and knowing that they have a support system and that it's okay to be who they are.
In care, we still have a lot of work and education to do with a lot of agencies that are doing some really good work, but they're not really a safe space for those youth. And you know, it's come a long ways, but we have a long ways to go yet. And developing those really intricate partnerships between agencies, and that's made a big difference for those youth to have that extra support, and we'll work together. And that team approach is really important too.
My hope is that there are the people who read this report and who look at these issues do so with a mindset that we're all in this to learn and to in fact find out more about what this population of young people needs, to make the changes that are necessary to enable them to feel like they are supported, to feel like in fact their diversity is something that we embrace. It's something wonderful to see a young person be able to express their true identity as to who they really are and to have that be accepted by those around them. So what I would like from this report is for people to move together towards that goal so that young people do feel the support and encouragement that is their right to feel.